Today is Friday, April 24th, and we're doing our Horizon AFA tentative agreement Q&A session. So we have a smaller group today, which is fine. It's Friday. But if anyone has any questions, now is your chance to ask them. You can raise your hand. Allison has a question.
Hi, I was hoping that we could quickly go over the good, bad, and ugly with the new reserve system.
Sure. We actually just wrote a TA question of the day for that last night, so it should be coming out pretty soon. There's really only one quote unquote ugly part, which is that the time, well, two, I guess, depending on who you are, the time that you spend on reserve waiting to get called will not count towards your maximum duty day as it does today. So you can sit reserve, well, really 12 hours because you have a 2-hour call out, 12 hours, do your call out, and then you could theoretically be assigned a 12-hour duty period, or on extended reserve days, that would be a 24-hour duty period. So that's the big change and the big negative. And honestly, it's what people at pretty much every other airline do. It's just not familiar to us because we were always under pilot FERs where they don't do that. Hold on, sorry, my phone is dialing somebody. The other potential negative, again, and this would only affect a few people, would be that the airport reserve lines go away and airport reserve becomes simply an assignment, like a trip that you get assigned to airport reserve for the day, not for a month. So those are the negatives. The positives are obviously the increased guarantee to 75 hours while getting actually an additional day off, which changes the value of a reserve day from 376 to 4.17 credits. So you get the extra day off and you get the higher pay. You get $250 per block hour for trips flown from reserve. You get airport standby pay of 1 credit per hour that you sit that is paid on top of any trip that you're assigned to. So in theory, you could sit for 5 hours, get paid 5 credits, and then whatever you fly goes to your credit as well. So those, I think, are the big things. Yeah. Are people asking about that? Or are you just curious in case you end up on reserve, which you probably won't, Allison, but.
No, people have been asking, and just because I've been going through all the bullet points, I want to make sure I'm giving them accurate information.
Yeah, so like I said, there will be a question on that coming out very soon, and oh, Lisa's here now.
Hi, sorry you guys, my apologies. I was on with membership for a minute.
Yeah, so did you get the report? You want to tell us what our voting is so far, Lisa?
Actually, he said he sent it over to you, and
He did. I thought you had talked to him about that. So our voting is at about 27%. And again, make sure people know we have no idea who voted or how they voted. We just know how many people voted. So we don't have any insight into that. So.
And okay. Just so everyone understands, out of our 700-ish seniority list, we have 567 eligible members to vote. And the others are for a variety of reasons, but out of everything, we have 567 flight attendants who are eligible to vote.
27% of them have voted. So we need to crank the turnout up. And I think people will vote more. They should all have their ballots by now or know how to get them replaced.
Yes. And it gets really busy towards the end. So
yeah. And some people just either put it off or they are not sure what they want to do. So.
Right. Let me see if I have any questions now that I'm in here. Hang on one sec. Let's see here. I don't see any. Check with Amy to see if she's over. We don't have questions. Do we have some new people who've joined us today that maybe have some questions for us?
We have a couple of new people. Okay, Josh Hames, you have a question? Go ahead, I'll unmute you.
Oh, great. Hi, Josh.
Joshua?
Hi. Yeah,
Is
I'm
Josh
here.
okay? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I had watched the video from, I think, the 20th yesterday, and Guy Ocker had a question about reserve type bidding, and he was asking how to bid for reserve type. And Kimberly, you said that would still be done via Comply 365 after PBS had awarded days off, which is how it's done now. However, isn't reserve type being assigned via PBS within the bidding timeframe, just like it is at Alaska?
No, it's not. And the reason is that has nothing to do with the reserve system or its adoption. It has to do with when we went to PBS, we had a choice. We could do a continual back and forth between reserve and line holder if you wanted like certain days off and you wanted to go back and forth. Or we could do how Alaska has it, which is kind of the older version that they've stuck with, which is you put in your line and then you say else reserve, and then you're going to get reserve. So if we went with the system we went with, which gives, we think, more flexibility, it was not able, and I still don't understand the computer reasons for this, to assign AM and PM. So that's why we have the secondary bid for that piece. So that's the reason. And hopefully NetBlue will be working on that. I don't know if that's on their priority list, but Lexi might know.
So I'm trying to think of how to answer this succinctly. They have been working on it, and it was programmed that you can bid for a reserve type in PBS, but it doesn't really work the way that we believe it should work, and so we're not using it. It was not assigning. Right now, it's pure seniority. When crew planning does the assignment, they don't look at the days off. Whereas, so like say you had the top 3 people bid for AM, the top 3 reserves, so the 3 most senior reserves bid for AM. Right now, crew planning just gives the top 3 those, but if it was done in PBS, it would maybe only give the top person AM and give everybody else PM because of the days off that they have, which seemed like a loss to us. So it actually seems to work better to just do it outside of the system. And if they could improve on that in some way in the future, then that would be great. But right now, the programming does not meet. It's less than what we're currently getting by crew planning doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you and I have talked about the difference between PBS at Alaska and PBS here, and I just wanted to confirm that Guy was getting the correct information. But if I just briefly looked in the TA, and it doesn't have a timeline for reserves and the explanation of when they would bid the reserve type.
So the reason for that, Josh, is I'm going to take the hit for that, and I'm sure we can get that worked out. Apparently the timeline in the old TA is not compliant. Well, I mean, sorry, in the current contract is not compliant with what's actually being done. But I never, despite asking Dee Dee a million times for like a full list of when all the days are, she kept giving me like piecemeal, so we didn't put it together, but it shouldn't change from today. We're trying to update the contract to fit with the practice.
I think I saw just now that bidding closes on the 7th under the TA, but currently it's the 8th, isn't that?
That's because we didn't change those dates because I didn't know what they were. If it's the 8th and Lexi's nodding, then it will be changed to say the 8th.
Yeah, there was an agreement to change to the 8th some time ago, and we'll make sure that we get that corrected. Yep.
And then I had another question about ER. Kimberly, in a previous video, you made it sound like after some of these ER assignments, they get the minimum hours off in base, but if it's how Alaska works, they go right into their next reserve day because it's now a new day.
No, you have to have 10 hours rest.
That's not how Alaska operates. They're on call for the 38
they
hours.
They don't sit 38-hour reserve.
Let me try and explain it. If they're on AM reserve starting on the 24th, they then get ER. That means they are on call until the midnight on the 24th, but then the 25th, they start on midnight and go for another 14 hours.
Okay, that was not my understanding. I can look into that for you and get back to you.
So essentially they're on call for 38 hours straight.
Yeah,
and
I don't think that's legal. So I'm not doubting your information. That's just not how it was explained to me.
Okay.
So I will, after this, I will call them and we'll get to the bottom of that, okay?
Sure. And then Brian also had a question about reserve self-assigning.
Mhm.
And currently, and what you said was that the company and the union have to agree it's ready to go, but isn't there a position that the company could say self-assigning for reserve is never ready to go?
No, because they're not going to implement any of the reserve stuff until all of it's ready.
So that means they could choose to not have any of it be ready for the entire length of this contract.
Well, in theory, but they actually really want this, so. And at some point, we would be filing a grievance to compel them to get it done. But my understanding is this is the thing they want the most to get programmed, actually. Now we're saying, no, you don't get to pick and
Right.
choose. Everything goes to
No.
AIMS and they program it together, but.
Sure. And the whole reserve portion has to be ready to go, not just part of it.
Lisa, that's right. That's what we talked about, right?
Yes, we made sure that they couldn't put into place the pieces that they wanted in reserve and not put in the place the pieces that we want in reserve. So we said you will not be able to implement reserve until the entire article, everything in it is in place and ready to go and has been tested by us as well as the company.
Right.
I guess I would hope that then that doesn't change if they come pleading for that to be changed.
If they would?
I guess that we wouldn't then, if they come back saying later, well, can we please do X, Y, Z, which is
No.
different than what you're saying now.
Nope.
Come to agreement
Nope.
otherwise.
No, they can't do
Nope.
that.
That's why we put that. That's why we made sure that portion was in writing, because that's what we didn't want to have them come back and do. So no, we at that point would be able to say, oh, that's great. You got these 2 pieces in and that's fantastic for you. But where are these other 7 pieces? And they could say, well, we won't be ready until April 15th. And we'd say, okay, then everything gets to start on April 15th, but only if we've tested all of those things as well.
As long as we can stand with that consistent thought process in 8 months from now when they decide to.
Oh, I know I'll be standing.
So, and past reserve, which I don't even know why I'm asking questions about reserve, because I'm hopefully not ever going to be back on reserve, but I understand there's a difference between an open TA, meaning the company can change their mind on any of the current TA agreement at any moment, and a closed TA means AFA would have to agree to come to the table and talk. There's a push that if we have a closed TA, there's no or almost no chance that the union will agree to a concession. Yet in 2016, when we were only 2.5 years into a 5-year contract, AFA leaders agreed to come to the table to talk. So how are members supposed to feel confident that if we sign this TA, AFA leaders will not agree to return to the table and talk concessions if management does that in a month from now?
So Josh, I mean, of course they can do that, right? And we would honestly, flat out no is not responsible leadership. We would actually talk with our international, and we would talk with our experts, and we would, look at the books and make a decision. But ultimately, even if we were to go back to the table, you guys get to vote. We're not deciding this on our own. You can totally vote no.
I understand that, but you have to understand how flight attendants perceive the information they're getting from the AFA leaders. So if that was what persuades people to the information and to their ultimate decision and what they make.
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I think very likely we would say no, but I also don't want to get caught into we would never say no, even if the world was ending, right? But to be perfectly honest, our inclination is to say no, because we've already given them. I don't think this contract would pass if it weren't in this COVID situation, right? I think a lot of people feel that way. But this is a situation we're in, and it's not getting better anytime soon.
Right, but I guess I just want it to be out there that people are under this mindset that AFA leaders will say no if we have a closed TA, and that's just very simply not the case.
All right,
So
well,
Josh, let
I'm
me,
talking from international, so let's let Lisa talk. Let Lisa
yeah,
talk.
let's talk about where I stand as the MECP and how I would see this working if something were to get drastically, and I do mean drastically worse than it is currently. If that happened, it would not even be me making that decision, Josh. It would be Kirk and Joelle as your LECPs making that decision. They're the ones who would be voting on whether or not we did that. So yes, Kimberly and International, myself, Kirk and Joelle would all be talking together, but there would be a vote and they would have to vote. They would both have to vote unanimously. If they were a split vote, then I would be the third person to break the tie. So communicating regularly to Kirk and Joelle as flight attendants is your most important step to start, and to make sure and find out how they feel now before you're voting on this. If this is an important component for you, find out what their thoughts are on that. I think they're actually on the call. You could potentially, we could hear from them as well today, but so that's the first piece. It's not that I would unilaterally make that decision, or Kimberly or anyone at International. It's a joint decision, and Kirk and Joelle have to vote on that. Secondly, anything shy of a dramatically, drastically, horrifically awful change in the situation, we're pretty steadfast that we feel like this, how do I say this? We feel like this TA probably would have received a no vote before COVID. So I can't imagine that I would be recommending to Kirk and Joelle at some point in time that we do that if they approached us. Bankruptcy, totally different situation. We have to have conversations with management if we are in a bankruptcy situation. Now, when I say that, I don't want anyone to believe that that is a conversation that's out there. It is not. But I do want to say that is the one situation that we would need to have conversations with management and how we would go about that. And again, your LECPs would be voting on it. And there would be information that would go out to members as well, I expect, in that situation for membership. I don't know how that portion of a vote works.
So what if you're in bankruptcy, you are legally required by the bankruptcy law to negotiate your contract. And if you don't come to an agreement, or you don't come to an agreement that the court feels is appropriate, the court will impose an agreement. So we obviously want to be on that. But you would have the right to vote on such an agreement. Nothing changes that. That's our Constitution.
So to go back to finishing this part of it, now that we know the bankruptcy piece, I feel very strongly that we would not open up any discussions if everything is the way it is right now, the way that we know it today. Equally, I feel strongly that, just if a few things happened here and there that were a little bit worse, we're not talking about it. It would, and I do mean it would have to be drastically, dramatically, horrifically different situations that would cause us to do that. And Josh, at that point, your leaders are in place to make those decisions, and they're tough decisions, but they could at that point decide that we needed to go in and hear what they had to say, and we would be turning it over to all of the members to be able to weigh in, survey, vote, do all of those types of things to let us know how you really feel about this. But those conversations are really important for members to be having with their LECPs. You vote them into place because they are speaking for you in situations. And it's important that you know what their thoughts are and that you provide them that information. So that's the best answer I have right now. It is nowhere on my radar that we would do that right now. Nowhere on my radar, but it's Kirk and Joelle should probably be the ones to even weigh in on this as well. Let me see if either one of them, see if they feel comfortable answering just for their locals. Kirk, Joelle, can one of you start and just give some feedback on that? I think this is a really important issue, and I thank you for raising it.
Yeah, I can speak.
Thanks, Kirk.
Yeah. So I see no reason to meet. If this contract passes, I see no reason to meet with management to discuss our contract until the next vote on the new contract when we have another TA. The only thing I can think of is if the company was going to close their doors if we didn't meet with them, or they were going bankrupt, which we have to meet with them. So it'd be a pretty dramatic, drastic reason to go. Otherwise, I don't think the flight centers would support us going back to the table to discuss anything, unless it was truly to save the company from closing down. So that's my position.
Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that. I'm going to let Joelle chime in now, and then I do have one more thing I want to say at closing on this. So, Joelle, do you want to take a minute to just talk for Council 16?
Sure. I feel the same way Kirk is, and I defer to his experience. I mean, he was there during the concession talk, and as a group, I believe a majority of us feel strongly enough that we would not be going back for any type of concessionary talk. So again, I would defer to Kirk and his experience, but I also have to listen to what the members have to say as well. So rest assured, I wouldn't just do it to do it. I feel just as strongly as
So if I can just close this up, and then we've got a couple of people, Josh, with their hands up with questions. The other piece is if that were ever to happen, and that would include in bankruptcy, personally, I'd rather come in with a stronger, higher wage contract than be working off the current one. So that's just another thought to keep in mind. Okay, now we have
Kimberly, hang on one sec, because there's one thing I did have one final thought that I forgot to put into my piece, and then I promise we'll move on. One of the things that you have seen that we did do is we did make changes to the dates in our current TA. So our feeling was that's where we did allow them to change some dates, and we pushed back on them. They wanted January, and we got it pushed all the way back to September for us. We brought it back. We agreed to the retro pay, but we made sure. And the reason we made sure they paid retro pay, the specific conversation that I had with Joe about this, and it was Joe Sprague that I talked to, the reason that I did that and took Joelle and Kirk's information, so really it's all of us that had that conversation, even though it was me. The reason I did that is because when we had the last TA, the last contract that we voted on, we didn't see the things that they told us were going to happen. We didn't see anything, the long, thin routes, the high credit, all of that was here for long enough for us to taste it, and then it got taken away again. So the reason that we fought so hard about this retro pay, and I know it's not paid until May, I get it, but they've never done a retro pay situation before that I know of. And that is exactly why we fought so hard for that piece, is because we keep giving and giving and helping, and that's our nature. We continue to do everything we can to keep this company going. And it was time for something to come back to flight attendants for doing that. And I know I get on my soapbox a little bit here, but that's why that piece was so important. And I know it's upsetting to everyone. It's pushed out. There was nothing. We are in the financial position we are in today. We just are. It's not their fault. It's not our fault. We're in the position. And it was very important that we know we're going to get through this. We believe we're going to get through this. And they pay part of that back to us for us making that small adjustment, which is really a big adjustment to us, for making that adjustment. It's time we see something come back to us for doing that. And that's why that's in there. So I'm sorry I got so animated about that, but I think it's important for everyone to understand. They put it in. We had to fight really hard to get that piece. That took, I don't know if you remember, Kimberly, but that took weeks and weeks for us to get that piece in there.
Well, time has stood still, but it's only been 2 weeks, so I actually do remember that. Clearly.
So I hope that helps, Josh. Thank you very much for bringing that up and allowing us the time to address that.
All right, we have a question from Jared Keegs and his mom. All right, you are off mute. Go ahead.
It's Gretchen O'Connell. I'm Jared and Keegan's mom.
Oh, okay. Hi.
But we've been Zooming with my parents, so it got set up that way. I commute from California, and I'm just wondering if you can explain the commuter policy one a little bit. I'm bad at contract language. So with the flights being erratic and canceling and shifting all around and all that, like what protections are there? You know, you usually list 2 flights prior, blah, blah, blah. But if there's weird things canceling and all that, how am I protected? And then my second one is, I thank you for all the hard work you guys did. And it's a very weird time we're in. I'm wondering, I'm not a doomsday person, but was it ever talked about if Horizon would cease to be? Is there any protections for us as Horizon with benefits for flying and that type of thing? You just, I mean, I hate to talk worst case scenario, but was that discussed and ever put in any type of language or even talked about?
Okay, so before Kimberly starts, I want to cover off on just the commuter issue that we have currently. So it just is getting posted today. We signed an agreement with management for commuters during COVID. You will now be able to list on any airline,
Okay.
any airline to get to your 2 flights. So no longer is it only on Horizon and Alaska. You now may use all airlines to be able to reposition into place. And that letter will be up on our website and on our QX AFA Facebook page. I'm going to put just a quick little paragraph that explains, we just got this in. Here's a new protection for you if you're trying to commute during COVID. Now
I'm out on educational leave and I might be out on leave for a while with kids at home and all that, but just going forward, it's already dicey with like trying to commute and flights full before this all happened. But now with flights being erratically canceled and that type of thing, to not be sitting at the airport all day long, you know, like flying in the day before, you know, to basically start work. I just was wondering how long it's protected under COVID and, you know, with fall being around the corner and them talking about down here possibly being half time at school at home, half time possibly at school. I mean, everything's weird right now. So I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it.
So Gretchen, that's the answer for currently. If it starts to get even worse, then we will start to talk again with management about any other protections that we may need to put in place during COVID.
Okay.
So we will continue it if it gets worse. Hopefully this takes care of what the issues are. But if there are more, I would ask that anyone who is commuting, please let us know, let Kirk and Joelle as your LACPs know the issues specifically that you're having, and we will continue that at some point in time if we need to. And now I'll let Kimberly, I'm going to turn it back over to her for the general commute policy that will start with the TA if it's ratified in normal times if we see them again. Right. And the second part of your question, which was, what are we doing if something really bad is to happen with our company overall?
Yeah, I hate to even bring it up, but just wondering if it was all discussed. So
nope, it's now the Kimberly show again.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, so the commuter policy, there's one big change is you actually have to register as a commuter and you have to use your permanent address, the address that's on file with the company for PeopleSoft.
And I do. It's PeopleSoft. It's my address down here, so I'm all set there.
Okay, so then you are completely fine. And then you have to designate a commuter city. So I don't know where you live in California, but the airport closest to your house, basically, or if that has service.
Orange County.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. So actually you can designate, I believe, Orange County or LAX and have all the co-terminals. Because of where you are.
Because I talked to Dee Dee one time, because Orange County one time had really good commuting lines, and then all of a sudden San Diego did. I avoid LA like the plague, but San Diego, I'm Southern Orange County, so San Diego works well for me too. So I was asking, can I go back and forth between the 2 different cities? I understand I probably can't list both of them, but could 1 month it be this one month it be that? And she led me to believe that you could not change your commuter city on a regular basis.
You don't need to, because actually the new language covers that. So I don't know when you talk to her, but it says, actually specifically calls out LAX, and it says, So it says, hold on. Maybe it's in the definitions. About page 80.
I think it is in definitions, Kimberly. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
Okay. So, oh, here's the rest of my contract, which is for some reason starting at Article 3. Okay. Anyway, it definitely talks about the co-terminals in LA, and we can find that and get that to you. I'm sorry that
Okay, no problem.
I think I dropped my contract and picked it up. So anyway, okay, so you're covered. You can register as Orange County as your, or Santa Ana as your commuter city, whatever, do that. One change so basically the commuter policy itself will still apply to everybody with those two caveats, or those two new rules, that you have to be a registered commuter and pick a city.
Yeah.
So you'll now be able to list 72 hours out instead of 48. So there's open seats 72 hours out.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think the piece that you're referring to that people are confused about is the commuter boarding priority.
Yeah, and I understand that that's now like the fifth. I'd probably fall within that tier. And I listened to your meeting about, taking a poll, and basically it covers all the commuters that are at this point. I just didn't know if there's anything majorly different besides the 72, being able to list a little further out. But mostly my concern was during this time of very erratic flight changes. So it's nice to hear about the side letter that went into effect if I indeed start flying during that period.
Yeah, Lisa got that for you. So
yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
I'm not sure how long that stays in effect. It's not a permanent change. It's obviously for the crisis.
Yeah, exactly. I understand that.
So on your other question about if Horizon were to go out of business, do we still have passes? That was never discussed, because honestly, all this was discussed. COVID came out right after it was like we were closed. Yeah. But I can tell you what would normally happen.
Okay.
And that would somewhat depend on whether just Horizon went out of business or all of Air Group, including Alaska Airlines, went out of business.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, no, if you don't have an airline, you can't have passes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's more so during like the commit to compete, and they were saying, these are shrinking routes, and if, and everyone's basically the chatter was, oh, Horizon's going to disappear. And if we don't sign contract, which I voted for that contract because I wanted to see us still continue to do what we do. I've been here 17 years, but,
Great.
So that kind of gets you thinking, because I never bought into it that we were going to go anywhere. I still don't think we're going to go anywhere, but it's always good to have language in place that say they decided to just be done with Horizon. Would we be able to have our time spent with Air Group be,
So
taken into effect?
I think that would, if Air Group still existed, I think that would be something we could try to negotiate, at least some kind of, especially if you were eligible to retire.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing.
I'm not there yet because I'm not 50 years old. So I'll be 46 this year. So I'm still outside that realm, and I'm not looking to retire anytime soon. I definitely just fly more part-time, and be home with my kids.
Right.
But I guess it's just always having something in writing should something crazy happen. And this whole thing has been completely crazy down here. So, so it just makes you think about it like, okay, well, was it even ever discussed to put in writing if anything was to happen on a more drastic level? But I'm not going to even think that way, because I don't want to even put it out into the universe that something like that would happen. So, but I was just curious, I guess.
Kimberly, I did find the part on register commuter cities, the definition part. Is that what?
I don't know.
I think you're looking for page 146, Article 25, that answers that question.
Well, our new definition that we added in speaks to what the registered commuter city means.
Okay.
So, Kimberly, let me know if that's the part you
No,
think.
Josh is right. It says a flight attendant wishing to use a commuter policy must register as a commuter from the airport or parentheses S in the case of a metro area served by more than one airport, but treated as the same station for ticketing purposes. So that's co-terminal. So in LA, that is Burbank, Ontario, Orange County, Long Beach, although you don't have any flights out of there, but not San Diego because that's not treated as the same city for, like, you can change your ticket for free to a different one.
Oh, so you couldn't list for Orange County and San Diego.
No, you could do Orange County, Ontario, or Orange County, LAX.
Well, that's what's crazy is those are all further out than San Diego. But
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's
Well,
okay.
so if you live close, if she lives closer to San Diego, she might have an issue with the verbiage, trying to use LA area airport.
Well, no, I think you live closer to Orange County, don't you, than to San Diego?
Orange County is my predominant one, but San Diego definitely is a big backup of mine because they have a lot of more flight choices. And I mean, Ontario is very limited and it's way the heck out there. Long Beach, we don't service.
Right.
LA is just a nightmare. And I mean, it takes you forever to get there versus San Diego.
There's also Burbank and Santa Ana that are
And
listed.
I go Santa
That is
Ana,
Orange County.
but Burbank is past LA. So that's why I'm saying San Diego is closer. It's actually because I'm Southern Orange County. So I'm actually the very last city in Orange County before you hit San Diego County. So San Diego is my closest backup airport.
But the question is which is your nearest to your permanent residence?
Oh, I'm nearest to Santa Ana, Orange County.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear, Gretchen, that the boarding priority is only on Horizon, so it's not going to help you on the Alaska flights, but you can still, it still allows you to commute from all those cities, regardless if you have the boarding priority or not.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was only Horizon Metal that's our boarding priority. Got it. Well, maybe we'll service Long Beach again.
Because
Or Orange County.
JetBlue's supposed to be pulling out, so maybe we will.
We could do Orange County, Portland. Come on. And then also with the premium caps on insurance, what can you explain that just a little bit to me?
Well, you know, if we were BJ, we could explain that really well, but we'll do our best.
Okay, no problem. That's why I have questions, because I don't understand it. So I'm like, I mean, I'm a yes vote at this point. We need to secure and lock this thing down. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around anything that's a little bit outside my realm of understanding and going forward.
I want to give a little background before Kimberly talks to what the actual language is. This was the last thing that we had out there that we were trying to go back and forth on. And the way that it started, we're not Alaska, but the way it started is they do have a provision that allows for their rates to stay in effect through the terms of their contract, their contract that they have currently. So that's what we started with. And we fought that for a year and 3 months to get the same language that they have. And BJ came in several times to explain to us why the air group cannot afford for us to have that same provision, although they were unable to quantify any of the items and how much they meant. He also provided us information that flight attendants love this new CCPPO, and they're just transitioning into it left and right. And so we tried to get a cap on how much that the company would make a deposit into that account equal to what they are currently doing going forward. And we were unable to receive that as well. Because of my position as the MEC chair of the Leave and Benefits Committee, this is an area that I'm extremely vocal on and will continue to fight in every contract that comes up to get better language in it. What I will say is at least we have something in there now.
For sure. That's a stepping stone. It's written in there and we can improve upon it, but I was glad to see something written, and it's more so my Flying Buddy Jean thing that she had on her list, you know, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. Like, you know, like it's good to just get the language started for sure.
Right. It's important to get the language started. Now I'll let Kimberly talk to the 3 things that are in there and the include on with the admin piece, just all of those pieces. So I'll let Kimberly talk to that.
Okay. And I finally found where my video link was. I feel like it's weird you're talking to a little black square. So hi.
I'm used to it. A lot of people are little black squares. That's okay. Okay, so there's 3 possibilities for what the premiums will be. One is that they can go up by $10 a month, and obviously that's a bigger chunk if you're on the high deductible than on the lower deductible. I mean, in terms of percentages, it's still going to be cheaper to be on the low deductible. 15% per year. So if you're on the high deductible and you're paying $10 a month, you could pay $11.50.
You pay another, because I am on high deductible right now, so I could pay another, what would it be? 50?
10% or 15%, which is $1.50. So, you know,
Okay.
I don't know that that would come up that often. And the
Yeah.
other option is, and this is really confusing, totally. BJ's the director of finance or something. He's the bean counter guy. This is BJ language. An amount that does not increase the company's percentage of total premium cost compared to the prior benefit year. So if the way it's set up is like on high deductible, if they're paying 95% and you're paying 5%, then your share will be whatever would be 5% of the new premium. They're still going to pay 95%. So
Gotcha. Okay.
so we're hoping, you know, obviously we're going to have the right to inspect the numbers and make sure that they're correct so that we know that we can verify. Yeah, but
I will say that one of the things that they're trying to change more to is the model that's actually done in other companies, not just the airline world, but other companies. And that is one where if you have the option of your own insurance in another company, that paying for it on our plan is going to be more expensive. So everyone is kind of going to the model that you have to choose your own plan first. So if your spouse is employed and has the option of coverage, their plan should be less than adding them onto your plan. So
Okay.
that's a concept that's going on across the board in all companies.
Yeah.
And so that you will see probably change. Dependent coverage, the child portion of it, that's the part that we're also trying to get some protections around, so that, you know, if you're a single mom and you have kids, or your spouse does not have the option for whatever reason.
That's me. I'm the whole family insurance. I got a construction husband that's, you know, ever erratic changing. So I'm like, I'm the stable insurance over here. So I just try and wrap my brain around what that's going to come out. I mean, it's
right. We will continue to try. We won't be probably focusing on spouses that have coverage options elsewhere, but we will continue to that fight in future contracts to get the dependent coverage for moms and dads who have kids, to try and keep that at a reasonable rate as well.
cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Anyone else have a question? Joanne, you had your hand up a while ago.
So perhaps we could go over the part about when the raises happen and when they are going to be implemented and all that again. I just need to have some clarification, please.
Okay. So the pay raises, the new rates will go into effect September 1st. So, but you won't get them in your paycheck until January 1st. And then in May, you'll get a lump sum payment for the percent increase, the 4.75% that you would have earned from September through December.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but in January, we're actually getting paid.
in your checks, yeah. And all the other compensation pieces start up in January too, like the extra holiday and the ground holding and the pre-boarding pay and so forth. Or actually, yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone else have a question?
I would like you to clarify what you just said again. You said the pay scale is effective 9/1/20, but the increase over current amount through, okay, sorry, but you said something about getting paid in January for that?
No, so, and I mean, obviously the actual number here is going to vary by what pay step you're at, right? So let's assume that the pay raise gives you an extra $100 a month, okay? So you will work at your current, you'll get paid your current rate through December. And then in January, you'll start getting the extra $100 a month in your check. And then in May, you'll get a check for $400 for September, October, November, December. Does that make sense to everybody?
It says the increase between 9/1 and 12/31 is not paid until May.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, it didn't sound like that. I guess maybe I'm.
No, what I'm saying is if your increase equals $100 a month, and for those 4 months, you're not getting it in your monthly check or your bi-monthly check, you're getting it in May.
But our actual raises that we'll start getting our actual pay on our pay in January for the actual raises starting in January. It's just the period from September to December that is going to be paid in May.
That is
Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does that make sense, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you understand, that everyone understands. All right. Anyone else have a question? Okay,
Take a shot.
go for it.
The other day it was said that we didn't want penalty pay verbiage in the contract because we just wanted hard verbiage preventing scheduling from doing things. Even though Alaska contract has a lot of penalty pay verbiage if the contract is violated, the only option we have at Horizon is to file agreements, and even if we win the agreements, there's still no penalty for the company, and the flight attendant sees no benefit from that violation.
Okay, so let me say that first of all, we're only talking about the reserve section that conversation occurred in. Okay, so it's not the whole contract. What happens at Alaska is that they put all this language in there, and this is kind of weird. Like they put all that language in there in 1999 in that first agreement after the Southwest contract, and then as it turned out, scheduling rarely or never violated that language. And so there was no premium pay, and people were kind of like upset. Like they thought we should get premium pay because it's in the contract, even though it's only a penalty. So in the next contract, we took that all out because it was kind of illusory. Nobody was getting the money, and people got really upset because that had been taken away from them. So then they put it back in. So it's still not really ever paying out or anything like that. Hold on a second. Do you need something, honey? Okay, I'm on my call. Bye-bye. I know. Okay, love you. Sorry, guys. So we did not want to create the illusion that would happen. The thing is, if it violates the contract, then you tell them, I don't have to do that. And you get a supervisor on the phone. I mean, these are things like assigning airport standby more than 4 times in a month, or things like, actually that one's not in there, but like interruption of rest beyond 1 time to change your schedule. So no, yeah, we don't have those. Anybody else?
Maybe the negotiation committee members who are on the call can talk about how come per duty period versus pay per day or greater was not achieved
What are you talking about?
as far as trip rigs.
Oh, that we did not get it to calendar day. We're still at duty period?
Correct.
Well, who would you like to hear from? It was Joelle.
Or
Joelle and Tanya are both on the line. Joelle, or Tanya, are you able to talk to the history on that?
Sure, I can. This is Joelle. We took that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the, of course, out of all of them, the main focus for trip rigs to get that over from, or get it to a calendar day. It was taken to the table every time, and it just wasn't something that management was willing to address. They actually seemed like they put it off. They put it off every time, and it came down to having to decide whether or not we were going to do duty day or the calendar day or something else that we got. I mean, we were constantly told to choose something over another thing, if that makes sense.
Right. So it's not that we don't try, but we don't get everything we want, just like they don't get everything they want. I will say the one thing we were able to get with regard to duty period was for trip trades, that it will be based on calendar days, not duty periods. But honestly, you just go to the table, you don't get everything you want. That's kind of how this works, unfortunately.
We pushed hard for a lot of items.
And
I want to say we also pushed back on a lot of items that management did not get. So let's keep that in mind too.
That's true. There are things that, you know, aren't in that summary of changes that they wanted that did not go through. And so that is important. The other thing is whether, let's go pre-COVID, whether or not we would have recommended a yes vote, a no vote, a neutral stance, the way things were standing before COVID, we were very adamant with management every single session that the TA as they were presenting it would not pass. We said it over and over and over again. This TA, if you do not make movement in these areas, will not pass. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, that's when we had to change and discuss what our stance was going to be as an MEC at this point in time. But we would have been having very different roadshows and very different conversations with flight attendants if this had not happened.
All right, anybody else have a question? Joanne?
Yeah, could we cover the section on the vacation slots, the plans for that? Again, that's, there's
So
60 days.
Yeah, that's in the implementation agreement, which was posted a couple of days ago, because I didn't realize that it wasn't in the TA, so it's up there now. And what it says is that within 60 days, so by July 1st, because we need to, if we're going to come to agreement, we need it to be agreed on prior to bids opening in October, right? So we were trying to figure out a few issues. One is making sure there's enough slots for the number of vacation days or hours that people have. Number two is some of the distribution throughout the year so that we don't have weeks with no vacation. And then the third one is the company's practice of just removing slots from open time, which they're really not supposed to do unless it would affect cancellation of flights. So those are the things we're going to be talking about, and hopefully we're going to be able to resolve some of those. You know, what happened was honestly that this had been going fine, and then COVID hit and Dee Dee took all the vacation away, which has since been put back because Lisa stepped up and told her no. But we decided that if we were going to make any changes in the implementation dates for the rest of the contract, like the compensation and so forth, that we were going to at least have these conversations about that. And Lisa, you talked to Joe specifically about this, didn't you? Joe Sprague?
Yes, this was a conversation that we had when we were getting to a point where it was just going back and forth and nothing was getting accomplished. Joe and I decided to reach out and have a discussion outside of the group and try to see where we could push on these things with each other and get it to a final product, which we were successful doing. And this is one of the things that he needed to understand what the history was on it. And once he understood the history that I had, you know, helped him understand, he said he wanted to get a resolution as well. And he wanted to be able to learn all of the history on it outside of the TA. And he made a commitment that if we meet with management in this time frame, which is between now and June, and we do not get movement and a satisfactory result from that, that I will be going to him directly again, and he is committed to stepping in and making sure that those conversations start to make movement. So we have that commitment from him. I will say, and I think this is important, you know, we don't put information on our website about things management comes to us and want that we say no to. But it's, you know, to the talk about would we have a concessionary conversation with management at some point in the future, Dee Dee sent over a letter for us to review and approve that was going to be removing all vacation usage in its entirety between now and a time when they're financially back on better footing. And it said that you couldn't do day at a time drops. They would only be without pay, that you wouldn't have any slots. It said you wouldn't be able to, you take your vacation if you were on leaves and have them removed and not paid out. It removed any vacation usage at all. And we adamantly said, absolutely no. Those slots are to go back in. The ones that were removed for May and June, they are to go back in immediately. You are to turn on vacation day at a time dropping. Absolutely, that is not going to continue. And so that's one of the things that, you know, hopefully that shows our commitment to not agreeing to these things that do not benefit us. So that vacation time is ours, it's on the books, and we have no intention of saying, no, you cannot continue to use that the way that it was. So there's something for you to just know that we're not saying yes to things that we don't agree with. We're saying yes to some things we think benefit us. But mostly we're taking these letters to them saying, we need this and we need you to authorize this during this time frame. And that's what we've continued to do.
Okay, Josh, you had your hand up, and then Gretchen.
So how come on the implementation agreement are things within SAP, such as dropping to 5 hours of original line versus 4, eliminating blackout dates in the first 3 days, and only blocking out paid holidays and trades with open time based on the number of duty days is not being implemented until April 1st?
Okay, so the reason is that is hard programming. It's not, it's like some of the things in the computer system, they can just like change a setting, but this is actual hard programming. And they have a freeze on any payment to vendors through October. So they can't even, and that's from Air Group. So they can't even start till October. So that's why it takes several months to program that.
And they could come sooner. If they're programmed sooner, they will start sooner.
That is correct.
And the implementation committee will be doing the testing on those and will be pushing. I mean, we get a copy of what they've sent to AIMS to get programmed. If we don't see that in the first thing they send over, then we will be having serious discussions about that.
Yeah, so how are we checking and balancing their statements of this is hard programming and evaluating whether that is a true statement that they're providing to the negotiation committee or the implementation team versus just saying something?
So we have Jamie Moore is our AIMS person, and she does all of our testing. I think Lexi had some history with testing as well. So we make sure that we check with our experts on whether or not they're a hard programming or just a switch. And the implementation committee will be utilizing those experts on our side to make sure that information they provide us is correct.
So you are saying that based on your information that changing it from 4 hours to 5 and the first 3 days blackout and blocking out holidays is a hard programming, even though it seems like it's just a switch?
A lot of these things, and it's not just at you guys at Horizon, a lot of these things that seem simple are not. Lexi, you turned on, you got something to say?
No, I just thought I'd jump in because I actually went over to, well, Josh knows all of this, but that I've been to Greece, actually, to the AIMS headquarters and done testing with them as they work through implementing some of this stuff. And the stuff in this, like, I know it seems like it should just be a flip of a switch and everything's fixed, but that's not actually how the programming works. And it's the same across. I now have experience testing 2 systems, right? Like NavBlue and Ames, and it's not just Ames. It's like that. It actually is at least the 2 programs that I have experience with. So I wish it was an easy switch. And maybe you're right. Maybe the switching to 5 could be easy, but the other 2 probably aren't. The blackout days, changing those. But I mean, I can't say 100%, but I will say that I'm always shocked. Sorry, I've got feedback, but I'm always shocked that how complicated it is when it seems like it should be easy.
The other thing I'll say to this, Josh, Jamie will be getting a company computer that has the Ames software loaded onto it. So she'll be able to go in and see herself those things that just, you know, have a slot where you can change, and those things that are actually hard programmed. I have it as well. So I'm able to go in and check on some of these things also. So we definitely have a lot more transparency and visibility into that system now than we have had before. And Ames, Lexi can correct me if I'm wrong, Ames has to do things in the order they are programmed onto that update file that comes across. So let's say they have a file now that they're changing, I don't know, they're changing 12-hour duty time. Let's just use that as an example. If that file that they are working on gets done first and we send them the file that changes to the 5 hours, they have to send the file that they already have. They have to load it, test it, get it completed, then send the next file. Yep. So, and I couldn't tell you, I don't know why that is, but you can't take, oh wait, we need this first, it's an emergency, let's grab this one and put it on before the other one is finished. And I don't know why that is, but it is. So that also comes into play in this. We have to take each one of them in order that they were produced until we get to the, you know, that one, which is the next one in order.
Yep. Okay, Gretchen has a question. Let me unmute you there. Go ahead. Wait.
So we were talking how the slots and stuff were taken away and not put back in, and we've been talking to them because that happened to me. I noticed someone transferred to Seattle, opening up a vacation slot, and I would be next in line on a standby slot, and Dee was saying that that was unavailable, weren't filling those vacation slots, and it was when I was out on educational leave where I could pay myself out of my vacation time if I took vacation. So it sounds like it's kind of been rectified, and now it's kind of in the past. And sorry, I got kids in the background right now. So I guess going forward, did we talk about in the next contract having more vacation slots available to bid on, since Portland was a little shy on vacation slots for 2020?
That's part of what this discussion will be that we have between now and June, is how many slots.
Okay. And that's where I cut out. I lost everything you said.
Yep. No, that's totally fine. I'm glad you're asking, and we're re-clarifying.
Perfect.
Yep. We will definitely be, that will be discussion. I expect that is going to be the hardest piece for us to resolve. I don't want anyone to think that this means it's going to be this, you know, easy conversation with me.
I don't think it's going to be easy at all, since I tried to pick up one vacation slot of what would have been an opening, and it was like, oh no, we're not having that available anymore. I'm like, but you had someone there originally, and I just didn't even find. I'm like, whatever, you know, like, but I'm glad it's being discussed, and and I think more of people below me than me, because I got some vacation slots, but there are people that were like new hires that couldn't even bid for vacation yet, but would be able to, you know, hold vacations that are on in a year, or people that had just come into being able to get vacation that couldn't even hold it because of seniority and whatever. And I was like, those poor people get no vacation for a whole year. That's crazy. Like, so I'm glad the discussion is open and on the table.
We have grievances filed on that, so.
Perfect.
And we have one that was one of them. So, I mean, the second one should be, I mean, nothing's ever easy, but the second one should be, easier than the first one on that regard. But as a whole, we will be talking about all of it. And we'll be looking to our experts at International and Kimberly and others. We'll be looking to them to kind of tell us what is a good formula for us to use going forward to determine what slots there should be out there.
Yeah.
And I know what I think it should be, but I don't know how that is. We'll look to other airlines to see how they figure it out. We'll definitely be doing our research to make sure that we're getting as much as we can as a protection for flight attendants.
Yeah, it just seemed a little skimp on the shrimp for 2020 in Portland. I was like, wow, what happened to vacation slots? It's pretty slim pickings out there. So that's good to hear.
Okay. Anyone else, or are we coming to a wrap up here?
Let's do our normal. Has anyone seen anything on Facebook since Kimberly and I are, well, Kimberly's on there a little bit more just to answer factual answers to things. But I am not on Facebook very much. Are there any questions that have come up in the last 24 hours that you feel like we should cover off on here? Anything that you saw was a hot topic? We did post 2 new questions of the day. We're doing some catch up on the questions of the day. We got some new videos up on, and I think I've got a couple more I need to post, but anything that you saw as a hot topic going on, or anything you've heard when you've been out flying or in crew rooms? Okay, just final admin kind of stuff that we cover off on every day. Kimberly, I don't know if you did this while I was away, but your vote is final. So if you do, make sure that you are 100% sure of your vote, because this is the first time we won't be able to change our vote. If you have not received your voting information in the mail by today, I don't expect it's coming. So I would say that you need to reach out to our 800 number, and that is not being serviced live because they are practicing social distancing and stay at home. They're working from home. So you need to leave a message with your phone number and email address, and they will be checking that very, very regularly every day to make sure that they get right back to you with a code so that you are able to vote. If you go in and vote and it gives you an error message, that most likely means that you have some past due dues that are due currently, and we can get that all worked out as well. So make sure you reach out to Amy, Baird, Heather, or Tanya to get that cleared up. What other admin things? Voting closes on the 30th at 12 noon Pacific Daylight Time. I'm going to get that date up on the website because I don't think the dates are on there, and I think that's important for everyone to know and be able to see. If you have other questions or you're flying with people who have questions, there is a comment box, a question box on our website, and you can complete that. We will, one, get back to you in writing, but we'll also bring it up on these Q&A sessions so that you can go back and watch the video on it and hear the answer for yourself. I think that's all of the admin stuff. Am I missing anything, Kimberly, on
I don't think so. I don't think so. Looks like Gretchen has another question.
Oh, good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's this one's not contract related. It's hopefully something you can answer. Now I'm getting feedback. Is there any talk of, since credit hours have been so low, like I was flying under, like where you have to average so many each month to hit your 550 to be covered by insurance.
Well, you're
I'd asked Dee, were they going to visit lowering the 550 number with some of the low credit that's happening and drop trips, or it's going to stay in place?
Okay, so first of all, let's be clear. You could fly a part-time line at 47. Well, you can fly part-time at 47, but you could go all the way down to 47 credit and multiply that by 12 bids, and I believe you get that 550 number. I think that's where I got. So you could go down quite a bit in credit. and
I get
still
down,
make
I think one of my, and I'm mostly hovering around the 40s under part-time, you know, but there was, and I had like one where with vacation, it was a little bit more, but then there was a month where it was like 30 something. So it's going to be tight. So I just didn't know, you know.
Well, and while you're on leave, you're getting credit, right? So
I know I get the constructive credits, and it used to be like 55. Now it's like 48 or something along those lines. It just, I know that there's one month I think I was in like the mid to high 30s, you know, and you
so
know,
you
I don't know
have to-
if I'm going to be, you know, my life's kind of up in the air right now with school closures and that type of thing, and possibly being out on company leave, of my hours by the end of the year being a little bit tight.
So you have to average 46 credit per month to
Okay.
keep your full-time 550. That's just
Yeah.
an average. You have to average 46 credit per bid.
Yeah.
Now, if you do the credits, hang on one second. Let me just do that really fast. 550 divided by 1.57. If you were to do a full leave, you would, how do I say this? You would have to really manage that time and make sure that you're making up some credit. So 1.57 times 365 gets you to 573 hours. So even if you were on leave for a full year, getting those constructive credits, you would earn your full-time benefits for the next year. When you start to drop flying, or, you know, you pay someone to fly for you or what, that's where you start to get into trouble with your getting
totally.
to 5.
And there was one year at like 556. So that's why I'm saying, like, I was, you know, down here and hunkering down, but, and I think it was like January, I had a lower number, but then I was like, oh, June, I have vacation, but then I'm like, do I want to take vacation and pay it out or take the leave of absence? Like, and so I'm kind of juggling because I have to figure out my numbers for the end of the year. And I didn't know if there was any discussion with, you know, I mean, I like that they're locking in that, you know, there's some protections in the new contract with, you know.
It's pretty generous right now. And I don't mean generous like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing ever. But when you see that the number for constructive credits gets you over that 550, you see that the math really does work to get you there. And the only time you'll really get to less than that is if you start to drop your flying. Vacation does count, sick time does count. Both of those count for that accrual. Where you will have trouble with all of these leaves and lowered flying is in your FMLA qualification and your intermittent leave qualification through FMLA. And the reason for that is sick time does not apply, vacation hours do not apply. You do not get constructive credits for that. That's a federally mandated program. There's nothing that we can do to change that, but you have to always make sure you have that 504 worked time to be able to qualify for that. But that isn't a rolling calendar year. So you just go from the day you're applying backwards 365 days. And I would tell all flight attendants to audit that number. Actually, when you get the number, if you're denied, write back to your adjuster at Matrix and say, I'd like to have my number audited. And most times that shows a discrepancy and we'll push that forward. But if you are a very low credit flyer and have taken a lot of leaves, you will have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on an intermittent and I'm not on a family leave. I've always taken the company leave, if anything. But yeah, it's always working those hours by the end of the year to make sure they all add up since I am the insurance. Trying to think, there was something that popped in my head. Now I'm blanking on it. Yeah, gone.
Well, when it comes back, we're here.
Yeah.
We're here every day, and I'm also available. And Joelle and Kirk and Tanya are all available on the phone if it's a contract negotiations question. If it's benefits, feel free to reach out to me or one of the committee members.
Okay. Real quick question. If you know, unemployment, do you file under the state that you live, where you're based, where the company's based? Like
You
there's so many
file,
different.
you file where you are based. The
So I would
international office,
file Oregon.
where you are based is where you start your claim. And that is a directive from the international office. It's based on our profession. So you start where you're based, appeal where you're based, and we've seen claims going through. So we see that the system is working, and we have a new cheat sheet that we will be putting in today on our website that has some questions
thank
about
you. I need clip notes. Because I'm like, I don't even know like how I do my hours, because I've been like, I haven't flown since March, but I've been paying like vacation and time because I'm on company leave, but then they dated my letter back to March 14th. I'm like, I don't even know what to do at this point.
If you're getting paid vacation and sick time, you won't qualify for the UI benefits right now. But as soon as you start to use one of the staffing reduction leave of absences, and those are unpaid, then you will qualify for your UI benefits.
Okay.
But we'll get that information sheet out today.
Do you know why they would have dated the letter back to March 14th then? If I'm on an educational leave and receiving pay, they don't look at your pay.
They're just sending it out to everyone who's in there. So if there's a gap in how much your sick or vacation time is and how much you would have made, it's possible that UI will make up that difference. But they don't know, the people producing the letter don't know if you're getting pay.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's two different places, and of course the two places are not talking to each other.
Gotcha.
So
I was like so confused. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, I'm getting pay for vacation and sick, but they're dating my letter back, and where do I apply? If I apply, and should I fly June and do vacation or take unemployment? I don't know, but I'm like, I don't want to commute right now on any airplane and try and deal with, but that's now, it's nice to know there's language in place and there's other airlines you can compete on. So that's a little reassuring. So thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
I'm sorry that letter was delayed getting out. I had some edits I needed to do to it. Our reps on the benefits committee did a phenomenal job putting it together, and it got stalled in my desk, and it's now out of my email and on its way. So it'll get out there very soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, so Joanne, go ahead.
Hi, two things. First of all, Gretchen, I sent you a text. I don't even know if it's your current phone number, but I have a spreadsheet that I could help you with to compute your hours.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got your text. Yes. Okay, cool.
If you want help, text me back and we'll work on that later. But my question is, unemployment. Do you know anybody that is getting unemployment for the balance of their part-time line?
The answer to that is it depends what state you're in. I don't know California, but Oregon, Washington pay it for the balance of, well, not for the, okay. If you reduce to part-time, then you should get unemployment. If you weren't part-time before.
If you always flew part-time, there will not be a benefit.
No, repeat that. I'm sorry.
If you always flew a part-time line, there won't be a UI benefit if you're still flying part-time. But if you flew full-time and you reduced your line through one of these programs, there will be a UI benefit for the difference between the two.
So how far back does that go? I flew part-time a lot up until, or at least minimum reduced, I don't know, maybe not part-time. But I started in October flying high credit lines. So is it like the last year, or do you know anything about the time frame that they use?
Joanne, I don't, but on that information sheet that we're sending out, there's a link and it'll help you compute your benefit. There's a link to each state to compute your benefit.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Josh has his hand up.
So I just wanted to confirm before we got off the call that you were going to confirm with either Jeffrey Peterson or Terry Taylor about the ER usage, and then also just make a statement that you previously said that ERs at Alaska are usually used last, but that's not necessarily true or how they operate. They usually ER people to extend the footprint that scheduling has available to use them, or they do ER because they have a pairing for them that they would not qualify for assignments if not ER'd.
Well, that's what I mean by using them last, right? Like, because they're gonna, if it's an AM or PM trip, that they're gonna try to give it to an AM or PM first. But if there's no one available, it's gonna go to the ER.
Yes, what I'm saying is they will ER and then immediately assign them a trip
Okay.
that they wouldn't qualify for if they were not ER. I just want to make everyone aware of that, yes.
Well, I don't know what trip they would have that they wouldn't qualify for if they weren't ER. That doesn't really compute,
Getting a call if you're like being called after 2 p.m.
right?
If they're an AM, they would.
Well, yeah, if you're an AM, but they could give it to a PM. They don't have to give it to the ER, is what I mean.
Well, they can ER you to then make you fly it to save the PM.
Okay, that's true.
But you were going to check on that, the reserve, ER and then reserve, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could well be wrong. I'm not going to deny that. I will find out the answer.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, kiddos. Are we done?
Kirk, Joelle, Tanya, do you have anything you want to close with before we end the call?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirk.
I'm good. Thank you guys for your participation and your questions. Thanks
Okay.
for being involved.
Well,
Tanya?
Sorry, I had to get to my phone. Sorry. I'm over painting. I just want to say I really appreciate all the questions that everybody's been asking. They've been really good questions, and it makes us have to really delve into the contract even more so we know what the answers are to give to you guys. So if you need anything, we're always available to answer any questions for you. So thank you so much.
all right. Thanks, guys. And again, if anyone had questions and missed us in our session, feel free to have them reach out to us, have them submit their questions on our website. And if you guys have anything else, reach out as well. But otherwise, we will see you tomorrow at 12:30.
Thank you.
Thank you, lady. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.